What's up everybody, Dan here with Dan and Sarah Makers, and we are coming at you with a new Tool Tuesday. Today's tool that we're going to look at is the Makita portable bandsaw. It's an 18-volt portable bandsaw, and just so I don't get dyslexic and say it backwards, it is the XBP02. So it is an actual made in Japan Makita cordless tool still, which is kind of cool. It is a brushed motor, so it does have carbon brushes that are easily accessible. I believe they've come out with a new brushless version, but obviously I don't have that. It is the full-size portable bandsaw, so it's got a 4 3/4 inch ability to cut 4 3/4 by 4 3/4 inch square material or 4 3/4 inch diameter material. It's got the 44 7/8 inch diameter blade. So it's a full-size blade. They do have compact versions, but this is a full size. To remove the blade, it's just a simple cam lever that detensions this front wheel, and you just slide the blade on. The back side here, it's got rubber drive wheels or belts around both wheels, which allow you to get a little bit of slip if you bind this blade up and it tweaks in the cut and stops. It'll spin for you. Some of the features: it's got a little LED work light that illuminates your cutting area. It's got an onboard Allen wrench or hex wrench that allows you to adjust this rear work stop up and down as needed. It's got a lockout button on the side here, so if you're carrying it, you can't accidentally pull the trigger and have it turn on. And it's got a speed control that goes from 1 to 6. That correlates to approximately 230 blade feet a minute of travel speed, all the way up to, I think it's 250 all the way up to 530 feet per minute of blade speed. You can get the blades in approximately 3 different tooth sizes, so they go from 10, 14, and 28 teeth per inch. The higher tooth per inch types blades are better for thinner material. Typically you want about 2 teeth in the material while you're cutting. So the 10 tooth per inch would be a larger, thicker material. So it's got good capacity, it's got a nice handle, it's got a hook on the front here so you can hang it off of a chunky unistrut, ready rod, something like that. It's fairly comfortable. The way I prefer to carry it or use it, let me say it that way, is I'm left-handed, so I typically have it this way, which does expose me to the underside more so than, say, a right-handed person, which would be using it this way and have the wheel and the exposed teeth, or at least the semi-guarded teeth, away from them. So that is one drawback, but it's not the end of the world. It weighs a little over 14 pounds, so I think right in at about 14.2 pounds. So it is a heavier tool. It's not super lightweight, not something you want to swing around one-handed if at all possible. So typically 2 hands is the best way to use it. I've seen people almost cut fingers off with these, trying to use them one-handed. All in all, it's a really versatile, really good tool. You can avoid, if you're working on a job where hot work permits are required, you can avoid getting hot work permits in lieu of, using a grinder or a cutoff wheel, something like that. You can use a portable bandsaw and you don't have sparks flying. They're a lot quieter on average than a grinder, and with grinders, angle grinders, you get those red hot sparks, and those coming off, if you hit glass on a car windshield, a storefront window, something like that, glass of any sort, it can actually pit the glass, and then you have all kinds of liability callbacks and settlements due to that. You don't have that with this. So as far as what we're going to play around with today, I've got multiple different types of tubing and pipe. I've got some rebar, I've got some slip joint dowels for freeway paving, I've got some lightweight steel, some ready rod, some structural steel, channel, all that kind of stuff. So we're gonna get cutting and see how this does. Just keep in mind, this is the only blade I've had on this so far, and I've cut a lot of random stuff with it. So hopefully we get through everything with this blade. If not, we'll throw a new one on and we'll go from there. If at all possible, go ahead and clamp your workpiece. And also on really thin metal, this is just J-track from sheet metal siding. I try to cut into the corner nice and slow at a low angle so that it's going through more surface than just like square cut. So I've got my back strap guide on there. And as you see, it catches it, it jumps around a little bit. But it cut pretty quick, not the cleanest cut. but that's good to go. Here's some garage door opener or garage door track. It's a little bit thicker. Let's stick it on there like this. And we'll come over here and cut it from this angle. The infamous all thread. The nice thing about a Porta-band versus a grinder is a lot of times you can thread a nut directly onto the all thread as soon as you've cut it, because it does cut fairly smooth. If not, there's usually a little burr that you can just knock off by hand or with a utility knife or something. So now here's some back-to-back channel. This is welded together. This is unistrut. So we'll cut through the actual web in between our holes. So we've got a little bit more material to have to cut through. So this is getting where you do want a good size capacity on your Porta-band. Might not be so typical, but maybe some Schedule 40 1-inch PVC pipe. See how it does with that. Went right through it. Obviously there's a lot of burr on the end of the pipe, and so you'd have to deburr it. But if you were just rough cutting stuff real quick, that would be a really fast way to do it. Another thing that's kind of annoying to cut is ABS pipe. So they're big cutters, but not everybody's got a big specialty cutting wheel rotary pipe cutter for ABS. So I've seen a lot of people use chop saws, hand saws, hack saws, all sorts of stuff, and it always leaves a lot of burrs. And if you use a power saw, typically it starts melting on the blade. So let's see what this does. So that's really fast, pretty clean. This is 3-inch diameter pipe. Here's some black iron pipe for like gas line. This is 1 inch. So this is steel pipe. So the nice thing to notice about both steel pipe for black iron or say even galvanized pipe like this is that once I'm done cutting, there's no rim or lip at the edge of the cut, so I could put a pipe threading die on there very easily and start threading it. A regular steel pipe cutter, that wheel will start to mush because it's displacing the metal. It's not doing anything. It's not removing any metal when you're cutting, and so you'll get this little burr or expanded lip around the edge when you try and get your pipe tap on there, or die, sorry, to start cutting. It will not fit because you've got that little burr around the edge. And finally, copper pipe. So as far as copper pipe goes, I wouldn't recommend using a Porta-band as your main source or method of cutting copper pipe for plumbing. But if you've got a demo or remove a bunch of copper tubing all over a building quickly, that's a really fast way of doing it. It doesn't vibrate it like a Sawzall does and just jiggle it around like crazy. To try and clean that up, you'd have to deburr it substantially to make it usable for actual plumbing purpose. So this here, if you're familiar with freeway paving or any heavy type of paving, this is an expansion dowel part of a basket that spans across in a joint in concrete PCC paving, Portland cement concrete paving. So this is a big slip joint dowel. It's solid steel. I think this is 1.5 inch solid steel. So it's a substantial piece of metal. It's got a purple epoxy coating on it. They have green and purple. Purple's the more heavy duty. So as you can see, it didn't blaze through it like an oxyacetylene torch would have, but we haven't damaged it in any way. If for some reason we had to recoat this with epoxy, we probably would get away with it because it's not burning me right now. It's cool to the touch. So we haven't damaged the epoxy coating, so we could go touch that up. We wouldn't have to worry about retouching the rest of the epoxy like a grinder or torch would have done. This is kind of indicative of probably like an 1.5 inch structural bolt, like a really heavy duty one for foundation columns, something like that. So you probably wouldn't typically be cutting expansion dowels with a Porta-band. Here's an HSS hollow structural steel. This is a square tube. It's got the weld. Let's see if we can see it here. Basically the weld seam is right down the side here. I'd say it's probably 1/4 inch thick sidewall, somewhere around there. And it's just slightly smaller than the capacity of our Porta-band. So, there we go. Let's see if I can get through it without messing it up. Work stand's running away from me. Alright, so that took a little bit longer, but still a good size chunk of metal to cut through. I'd say this is a 3x3 by 3/8 L metal. So we'll cut this torch cut end off. It's all nasty. I use this as just kind of a scrap chunk of metal when I need something. I cut a little chunk off of it and fabricate all kinds of goodies. A chunk of grade 60 number 5 bar, so it's 5/8 inch diameter, and this is a grade 60, so 60,000 psi or KSI steel. So beautiful. So the final question is, will it cut? Yes, it will cut. We cut ABS, Schedule 40 black iron pipe, copper pipe, tubing, PVC, all thread, rebar, 1.5 inch thick dowel, L metal, HSS square tube, some garage door erector set track, some back-to-back unistrut deep channel, and we even cut some really thin sheet metal for J-trim for just regular delta rib siding. As far as a tool that's designed to cut specifically one thing and only one thing, like a rebar cutter bender, it does okay. Trying to take a cordless or hydraulic rebar cutter bender, or even one of the manual ones, into a trench to modify some rebar because something got left out or something needs to be changed, this is a real easy way of getting in there. There are other types of cutters that are out there that may be better in some situations, but this is pretty good. As far as cutting pipe, it cuts pipe really fast. There are some advantages and some disadvantages to the different types of pipe and different types of situations that you might be dealing with, but it does a good job. As far as cutting all thread and unistrut channel, it does an awesome job for that. That's probably one of the most common things that I see it used for besides cutting EMT conduit. Cutting a limited amount of structural steel, whether it's an HSS tube or an L metal or something like that, you could definitely get away with that and not have to worry about a torch setup to cut with. Oxyacetylene torches. If you're out in a field somewhere doing service work, repair work or something like that, and there's dry brush, dry grass, something like that, and fire might be a hazard, this would be a way to go. So it's not that expensive when you start looking at what it can do and what the other tools that it's mimicking or taking the place of in this situation cost. So I would say it is definitely a good investment to have. Cordless tools have come a ridiculously long way from what they were 20 years ago when I first started out, 20 something years ago, to where, you know, I'm going to be building whole buildings probably with no corded power tools or generators. I just take all the batteries back and charge them up at night and head out with a fresh box of batteries in the morning, and you're good to go. So it's definitely a tool to look into. Like I said, a lot of people know that I'm a little bit of a Makita fanboy. It's just what I've always really liked, and I've been really pleased with their equipment. Some of these more specialty tools like this angle or this portable bandsaw, they are still made in Japan. Look for the really odd exotic tools, not the impact drivers, not the cordless drills and circular saws, but start getting into some of the band files and the portable bandsaw and right angle impact drivers, stuff like that. You'll start seeing that they're still made in Japan. So anyways, that is my experience with this portable bandsaw. I really like it. I'm glad I got it. I don't have a corded bandsaw because this one is just, it does what I need it to do. So this is Dan with Dan and Sarah Makers. You can follow us on Instagram at Dan and Sarah Makers. You can also like, subscribe, thumbs up, click the notifications on YouTube. Leave comments if you've got experience with this, with other types of bandsaws, portable bandsaws, or corded or cordless. And share your knowledge too. Let other people learn from everybody out there. So until next week with Tool Tuesday, this is Dan. Have a good one. Get out there and do something.